my previous video, I talked about the 4 financing options you can access for your business. If you've not seen that video, go and check it out. Now, in this video, I want to tell you the best option for you. Now, as a small business, assuming you are a small business, you have just a beautiful idea, you're trying to put your team together and you want to raise funding for your business, the best option you should go for would be grant. Yes. So for me, I started off with grants. Now, what does grants does? Of course, I mentioned during my last video, I mentioned that, the reporting part where you have to do a lot of reporting because, of course, you have to report to the donor agencies that gave you this money that you don't have to pay back to them, of course. So, but then what it helps you do is that at this point, you don't even know if that idea would work. Of course, you might want to bootstrap, put in your own funding, but then you might also need funding for additional things. You're setting up a team, you're setting up operations, you're testing the idea, you're doing your product market fit, you're going to market, and you may not have funding to support all of this, and you don't even know if all of this would work. So what grant does for you is that you get access to this free funding that gives you opportunity to test most of these things. So for me, I built a hardware business, and of course, there's this saying that hardware is hard. So unlike most software businesses where you can, have a software prototype, for hardware you have to design the actual product. Although we started with bootstrapping, but then grant helped us to actually test. So we built the first prototype. It may or may not work. We built the second. The first didn't actually work. Some things failed. We built the second. Assuming we didn't have little grants here and there to fund most of those activities, we would have crashed out. So this is one of the reasons you need to get grants as an early startup. So to test most of those ideas, I know you are at the point where you're doing a lot of iteration, a lot of testing. You're testing models. You're testing. You're doing a lot of findings, research, R&D, testing, market analysis, and all. And you need funding for that. So you need to start with grant. Now, do you want to know how to access grant funding for your business? I think it's time to connect with me. Of course, no one else does it better. I've done this over and over again. I've cracked the code. Yes, I have. So if you want to learn how to get grant opportunities, you want to, a community where you can access all of these opportunities, you want to learn how to get access to how to write proposals, how to write concept notes to get grant opportunities, you need to stay in touch with me. Yes, with me. You need to stay in touch with me. Follow this page and keep close tabs with me.